The Cincinnati Bengals suffered their worst loss in franchise history to the Minnesota Vikings, 48-10, in what honestly might be one of the worst NFL games that I have ever watched in my entire life. The turnovers absolutely killed this Bengals team, and really by halftime, this ball game was completely over. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but it seems like without Joe Burrow, this Bengals team is absolutely cooked. It doesn't all go on Jake Browning, but, you had a lot of turnovers in this game. Jake Browning had 2 interceptions. One definitely was on a tip that went back to the house, but he had a lot of fumbles in this game as well. I thought the defense actually played pretty decent, but just overall, not good enough at all for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I want to hear from you guys down inside the comments section. I know this is kind of crazy. We're only 3 games in, but without Joe Burrow, is the season over? Maybe I'm overreacting. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Type Y for yes or N for no if you guys think the season is over. Let's get into some takeaways from this game today. The turnovers just absolutely killed you. There was nothing that you could do in this ball game today on the offensive side of the ball. Jake Browning had 2 interceptions in this game, including one that went back to the house for a touchdown. You had 5 total fumbles in this ball game today. You only lost 3 of them, but Samaje Perine lost one on what would have been a first down run. Noah Fant lost one, which would have been a first down as well. Ja'Marr Chase ended up losing a fumble. Chase Brown fumbled, and Cam Grandy fumbled as well. Good thing you didn't end up losing those, but just overall, you cannot turn the ball over 5 times in a single game and expect to end up winning the football game. That's just not how it's going to go. Your defense actually, I thought, played pretty well. We'll talk about them later on here in today's show. By the second half is just when they're constantly out there on the football field, you're not helping them at all. So it just overall, this is a terrible performance by every single person on this Bengals offense. So grade the performance, A, B, C, D, or F, down at the pinned comment of today's video. You can go ahead and spam your Fs down in there. Maybe you think it's a Z, whatever you guys want. It's just a bad performance. I don't know what else to say about this Bengals team right now. But let me know your honest opinion. Grade the Bengals performance against the Minnesota Vikings down at the pinned comment of today's video. It doesn't help either that your offensive line is absolutely cheeks right now. They can't block a damn soul. Orlando Brown Jr., I don't know what his PFF grade is going to be for this game today, but he gave up at least 3 sacks that I can really remember off the top of my head today. I'm just kind of going back and trying to look at the team stats here for both of these teams here. Let's see. You had 4 sacks in the game today. Just you can't run the ball to save your damn life. That was one of those things, in the week leading up to this game, Zac Taylor was asked about getting some of those explosive runs. How are you going to be able to do it in this ball game today? It seems like they just can't do it whatsoever. And I don't know really what to, think about this offensive line just in general, because a couple years ago, you go out, you sign Orlando Brown. At the time, he was the best offensive tackle in free agency. You sign him. You go get Dylan Fairchild in the second round of the NFL draft this past season. I think most people were pretty confident in the preseason about Dylan Fairchild. Ted Karras is one of the better centers in the National Football League. I know most people, when he signed his 1-year extension, were like, hey, why wasn't he extended, at least 3 years? And then, you also have Lucas Patrick, who is on IR right now. Really, the Bengals offense hasn't been able to run the football since the first drive of the season. Today, Samaje Perine had 4 carries for 21 yards. Tahj Brooks had 5 carries for 17 yards. Chase Brown had more carries than yards today by a lot. He had 10 carries for only 3 yards today. That's not a typo. That's not me misspeaking. Chase Brown had 10 carries for only 3 yards today. The Bengals averaged 2.5 yards per carry. I don't know what you're supposed to do. Let's continue on about the offensive line. Your right tackle, Amarius Mims, you drafted him in the first round last year. It's got to be a talent evaluation thing, and maybe it's even a coaching thing as well. We'll get to the coaches here in just a little bit. But this offensive line absolutely sucks right now. And I hate being a negative Nancy. I hate being a Debbie Downer, say what all the sayings you want to say about me being negative about this team right now. But, the one game that your defense actually goes out there in the first half and looks pretty decent, your offense can't do anything. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling that you go out there this week and you lose this one 48-10 and you have 5 turnovers in this ball game. It's really, really just hard football to watch right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll continue with some more reactions here in just a second, but want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get this deal today on this Bengals quarter zip. It is 30% off just by using promo code TURF at chatsports.com/BengalsZip. I'll put that link down in the comment section of today's show. I'll also put it down in the description of today's show as well. But today only is how you get this deal. 30% off equals about $25 off here just by using promo code TURF at chatsports.com/BengalsZip. All right, takeaway number 3, the defense just ended up getting tired in this game today. In the first half, I thought they actually played pretty decent. If the offense went out there and didn't turn the ball over just every single time they got the ball, just about, let me see exactly. Let me go, drive by drive here in the first half. Just kind of walk through some of these drives. Okay, so the first drive of the ball game, I thought Minnesota got a couple easy penalties that, helped them out a little bit on that drive. There was a penalty on Demetrius Knight for holding. That was kind of cheese. I don't necessarily agree with that one. There was a penalty on Dax Hill for a low block when he didn't even make contact with the offensive player, which I think, if I can remember correctly, would have been a tackle for loss on that one. So you give up a touchdown on the first drive of the ball game. But then, just going Minnesota, when Minnesota was on offense here. So first drive of the game, you gave up a touchdown. Second drive for Minnesota, punt. Third drive for Minnesota, punt. Fourth drive for Minnesota. We're in the second quarter now. You gave up a field goal. So that's 10 points really is all you should be giving up right there. The next drive for Minnesota, punt. The next drive for Minnesota, you give up a touchdown and then you give up a field goal in the first half. So really, it should be 17-3 at halftime. And it's, what does it end up being here at halftime? It was 34-3 at halftime. Should have been 17-3 at halftime. Really, I don't blame this on the defense whatsoever. In the second half, they just got tired. The one game that you go out there and your defense actually plays pretty decent, the offense just looks like total crap. So I'm not going to really put this one on the defense. This one to me is all on the offense. Takeaway number 4 here. This is something that a lot of people said in the chat. This is also something that'll be on Overreaction Monday as well. Zac Taylor might be on the hot seat. And I'm not this massive anti-Zac Taylor person. But just overall, when you go out there and you have a performance like you had, the coach has to be the number one person to blame. It genuinely looked like you went out there and you didn't practice at all this week. I get it. You can't really blame the coach on, 5 turnovers on the game. You fumbled it how many times? 5 times. You gave up 3 of those and you had 2 interceptions as well. But just overall preparation doesn't seem like something that this Bengals team did this week. And ultimately, that comes down to Zac Taylor. And I get it, execution, sometimes the players have to be to blame. But look, this has been a long time coming. I know a lot of Bengals fans out there have already been in this Zac Taylor on the hot seat, fire Zac Taylor type of thing here. So I'm going to put this one in there as my 4th takeaway today. What is your one-word reaction to this just devastating loss? The worst loss in Bengals history by 38 points. What's your one-word reaction? Get down there. Get creative down in the comment section. We kind of got delusional towards the end of this game today. We were down by 38 points, and we were saying the Bengals were going to come back just because, at some point you just got to try to be a little bit positive on our watch party. But let me know your one-word reaction to this loss versus the Vikings. Takeaway number 5, it just might be Joe Burrow or bust for this Bengals team right now. Look, just looking at your schedule, going down, the rest of our games here. You go to the Broncos, that one maybe a coin flip, but I'm going to just go ahead and say I think it's going to be a loss. Then you have the Lions after that. I'll say that one's a loss. You got the Packers. They ended up losing today versus the Browns, but I don't think you're going to go to Green Bay and beat them. And then, maybe you can beat the Steelers. That one might be a coin flip. You should be able to beat the Jets. Maybe you could beat the Bears. Got the Steelers again, Patriots. But then late November, you have Ravens, Bills, Ravens. That might be 3 losses right there. Hopefully, you could get Joe Burrow back sometime in December is the optimistic time frame there. Then you have the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Browns last 3 games of the season. So maybe you can go 500 for the rest of the season, and maybe that could put you in a spot to where when Joe Burrow gets back, you could somehow be in that playoff conversation right now. But just as of right now, this offense is nothing without Joe Burrow. And Jake Browning now, 4 or 5 interceptions in the first 2 weeks, game and a half-ish that he's been out there. You can't run the football. This obviously has to be a pass-first type of offense. I don't know if they could get it done with Jake Browning. Maybe the Bengals can go out there and they can trade for a Jameis Winston. I still don't even know if Jameis Winston is going to help you out. Maybe there's another quarterback you could go out there and trade for as well. But right now, this was an abysmal performance by this Bengals team, and you can blame everybody. I think maybe except for the defense. Obviously the score doesn't look great, but I thought your defense played pretty decent in the first half just overall. So I put all the blame on today's game on the offense. You can't turn the ball over that many times. You got to be able to run the football. You can't consistently average 2 yards per carry in the NFL. And just overall, you got to be able to prepare better throughout the week as well. And that is on Zac Taylor.